Now wait, this is the Nick Winters Show, and I do the entertaining, thank you. Let's go out with something really hot for these folks. A big hit out of 77. A Star Wars.
Hello and welcome to the In My Defense podcast. It is your host, Christian, and I'm back again this week with a guest to talk about a geeky subject of their choice. This week we are talking the Star Wars prequels with my friend Sophy London. Now wait, don't go, don't leave just yet, don't turn off whatever thing you're using to listen to this with. We are talking the politics of the Star Wars prequels, not necessarily the movies themselves. Yes, there is discussion about why these movies were so panned across the board, but there's a lot more discussion happening about what these movies mean today and what George Lucas might have been trying to accomplish and, probably failed at a little bit. This is something that's really good for any Star Wars fan. If you love Star Wars, if you don't know much about Star Wars, if you want to learn a little bit more about Star Wars, or if you're just like a casual fan, like some people who listen to this might be, I think this is going to be a really good one to listen to. Sophie came on and she was a great guest. She's an accomplished producer, very good friend of mine, and someone who I love to talk Star Wars with. And I think there's a lot to gain from this episode. But let's not waste too much of your time and get right into it so you can see exactly why this episode is so worth listening to.
Star Wars, if they should bar wars, please let these Star Wars stay. And hey, how about that nutty Star Wars bar?
All right, so I am here with one of my good friends, Sophy London. Say hi to everybody, Sophie.
Hi, everybody.
And we are here to talk about the Star Wars prequels, episodes 1, 2, and 3, and mainly talking about the politics, the political metaphors throughout that series. I think that's the way you wanted to talk about it, Sophie. Why
Correct.
This subject in particular?
I was watching Star Wars recently, as one does, and I was thinking about it. I was like, everybody hates these films. Like there's a lot of hate for these three particular films. And I started just thinking about why that is. And I was watching them with sort of, watching them again as an adult differently than watching them when I was much younger and didn't have to think about, I have a political election or anything like that. And as I was watching them as an adult, I thought they're kind of genius in their social commentary about society and specifically how different political powers come in and out of power and why that is.
Yeah. And I think that's a good way to go about it because I think there's a lot of negative things that you can say about these movies. And I'll just say that right now. Mm-hmm. They are not well written. It's not well directed. By virtue of that, unfortunately, it's not well acted. It's not well plotted.
No, which is a shame because you have some really brilliant actors in it. Mm-hmm. Ewan McGregor is great. Natalie Portman is great. And Samuel L. Jackson is, Samuel L. Jackson, no matter what he does, but he's still great on camera. And they suffer from a very, I would say, stagnant dialogue. I think there is some good storytelling in there. We've known George Lucas is not very much an actor's director, so
he's well known for giving just the same direction, just being like faster, more intense, faster, more intense. Yeah.
And as an actor, at some point, you must be like, what does that mean? What do you faster, more intense? Say this line faster, more. Okay.
So we can just get that out of the way right away. Just be like,
talk about the bad stuff first.
The movies and stories, they're not good. George Lucas is a genius. The guy is for sure had some really great ideas, but then, but like, if you go into the history of Star Wars, like even if for that very first movie, the only reason one of the main reasons why it was so successful was because of the editing. Apparently, like George Lucas's wife at the time saved the movie in the edit.
Correct. She had a lot to do with that first trilogy and why she edited it to save it, really. Because I feel like he may be one of those directors that can go off on a tangent and, now this movie's gone off the rails. Oops. We never tied up 6 or 7 different plot lines that we put in here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
George Lucas. I think it's true. I think people even thought it back then, like on set, where like Harrison Ford is famous for telling George, it's like, hey, George, you can write this, but you can't say it.
Yeah.
Like when it came to the dialogue and things like that, like George Lucas the movies especially these prequels are written in a way where it's like the observation of humanity and not so much like dialogue is not written like how actually people talk. It's always like it felt very much like a first draft, and that's across all those three movies.
I can agree with that as a writer, actor. I can agree with that. The dialogue is it's mechanical. It feels very mechanical. Like, I will say this, I love you. I love you too. Like, okay, well, it's this brilliant love story in the middle of a galactic battle. But I think fans were kind of waiting. I think with films like Star Wars, you damned if you do and damned if you don't. It's which is something that the last three films I think suffered from as well, but in the opposite way, where the prequels suffer from a lot of fans kind of wanted the same thing. They're like, okay, great, we kind of get to see Star Wars, but a new story, like new characters, but it's going to follow kind of the same thing. So I think they kind of wanted a lot of fan service in those first three movies, and what they got was something completely different, which as a storyteller, I can completely agree with. You shouldn't give people the exact same thing, because that's not a story. It's not like when you're 20, you're doing the exact same thing or acting the exact same thing as when you're 30.
Yeah. And I think George Lucas suffers from, like, he suffers from that ailment that all artists and creatives actually suffer from, where nothing you make is ever good enough. Mm-hmm. And if given the choice, you want to be able to just polish it off just a little bit more, change a little thing here and there. And George Lucas had the luxury of not ever having to let go. He has worked very hard at retaining ownership of Star Wars from the very beginning. And so was allowed to make any changes that he wanted to, even if he didn't necessarily have to.
That's right. And he was very smart about that. He was a very smart businessman when it came to dealing with Fox and not giving away certain rights, which as filmmakers now we're like, damn, everybody's kind of wise to that. So we can't give away merchandising. We can't keep merchandising right, which for him was brilliant in itself. And he was able to create his own massive empire that now we see in a lot of different movies. I mean, how many movies do you see nowadays that don't deal with ILM or Skywalker Sound?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So many great people came out of those first movies that have gone on to just change the landscape of cinema for like the rest of time. Yeah.
And I think in terms of cinema, it's something that we're kind of lacking right now. I heard a commentary by a reporter say that the prequel films were definitely sort of the start of where Hollywood is at now, in terms of we're just punching out big blockbuster films with superheroes or dogfights and damn to a heartfelt story. And I like them. I'm a fan of big blockbuster movies. I'm not gonna lie. I'll go and watch Captain America or any of the Avenger films. And to me, when I was a kid, Star Wars wasn't a thing. And my mom liked it because she's very into Star Wars and Star Trek and comic books. But I didn't. I never got into that when I was younger. And it wasn't until really I saw episode 1 as a young teenager that I was like, oh, this is Star Wars. This is cool. I like this. But I was also kind of dragged into that, oh, he's really cute, I'm going to follow that actor. But as most teenagers do, and didn't really bother to look so much for the nuances in it. But once I found it, I was like, these films are very low-key brilliant. It's just that nobody notices because they're busy complaining about Jar Jar Binks, or that it doesn't follow the same storytelling as the original 3. But the sequels also had that problem where they followed the same exact story that you had in episodes 4, 5, and 6. And they suffered because of it. It's full fan service. You don't have a cohesive story in those 3, I don't think.
Yeah, I think it's very much, it was very much like a story by committee where there was too many. It was the opposite problem for even the prequels, right? Where there was where the prequels had one person dictating what was going to happen, whether it was for the ill or for not. And then the sequels had too many people involved in the process to actually like get the full story that needed to be told out.
Right. So you can suffer either way as a storyteller from either too much input or not enough input. And I think Disney they tried to go the safe route, which was, let's just give the fans what they want, which is exactly the same thing they've seen before. Let's change a couple characters here and there and make Luke a girl and see how it goes. And it's pretty much when you get to episode 7, you're like, wait, I'm watching the same thing I just watched.
Yeah, I've always had like a theory for a while now where it's like for a movie or a franchise or whatever series is happening, for it to be uber successful, to have like the success that Star Wars had, either everything has to go perfectly or everything has to go terribly, and not really in the middle, right? You can't have a problem here and there. Like it either has to go where the creatives involved are 100% in control and they're telling the story that they want to tell, and then they're allowed to do so, or everything goes to shit and then it gets saved later on through editing or whatever process. And it usually, like, it happened with Star Wars, where the first movie, like, by all accounts, should not have happened. Everybody doubted it from the very start, except for George Lucas. Or a movie like Jaws, where they couldn't even get the shark to work, so they had to hide the shark for most of the movie, and it ends up being the first biggest movie of all time.
And that's where the editors come in, where they can really say, you know what, there's a different way to tell a story. I think a director sees a story in a certain way, and the director's job is really to see the story edited in their head, so that they can get all of the footage and things that they need before they get to post-production. But the editor's job is really to retell the story and say, you know what, there's a lot of fat here, or there's not enough, or there's things that can go, maybe we put this scene at the beginning instead of the end, and you get a better story that way. But some of them suffer from, like, the prequels, where you didn't have a strong editor like that, maybe, that was telling George Lucas, you know what, this isn't great. Like episode 3, there are several deleted scenes where I would have loved to see those in the film, because they show Padme actually meeting in secret with other senators to try and overthrow the chancellor or actually start the resistance. And you didn't get any of that in the actual cut, which is, I think, is a disservice to fans, because you didn't get to see where the rebellion fully started, and it started way back then. And you have all the same senators that are already in play in episode 4 when we first meet Luke and Leia.
Yeah. So having said that, we can get into what George Lucas might have actually been trying to do with these movies. And I agree that George Lucas definitely made the prequels with an agenda. He definitely wanted to get across his ideas about, like, how he felt, where he felt the world was going, and what he didn't like about it. And I think that's especially true for episode 2 and 3.
Definitely.
Because, like, Attack of the Clones came out in 2002, right? Like, it's after 9/11. The Bush administration at the time is enacting all these laws and doing things to, like, get past, like, take away the American citizens' privacy with like the Patriot Act and all that kind of stuff. And George Lucas definitely wanted to get across that he wanted people to beware of corrupt governments and giving people who make the decisions too much power.
Exactly. And he directly puts that in the film with several lines. It's especially when they give the chancellor emergency powers to create an army, which is exactly the same thing that happened during Bush's administration, where he was given emergency powers in order to bypass the Senate and send troops into war. A war that I think at some point nobody knew what we were fighting against anymore. It was like, was it for 9/11 or not? And I think that was probably his agenda, was to showcase that, hey, these are things that are happening now, and if we're not careful, this is where they're going to go. I think fast forward 20 years and we're kind of like, it's kind of like, hey, so if you watch them now and you think about what's happening now in our 2020 elections, it's kind of, or even in the 2016 elections, it's sort of, you're watching them and they're a prequel to the rise of Donald Trump and how someone like him would get to where he is.
Yeah, the idea of, like, giving like people tend to just kind of, like, lay back and not, and really only worry about their own individual circles. And I was like, guys, we're all in this together. We kind of need to come together to make sure that the people in power don't really like try to get corrupt and try to like corrupt the government and take too much control, which is things that we've seen over the last few years where like politicians are basically trying to do whatever they can to keep their jobs for as long as possible, no matter how many people they disenfranchise in the process.
Correct. And it's as he clearly shows in the films, it ends up becoming not a problem of one side or the other or one party or the other. It's a collective thing where neither party wants to give up power. And how do they go about keeping power? How does each party go about keeping some sort of power? Yeah,
and then it gets into like a really interesting philosophy, right? Because the Jedi aren't really the good guys in these movies either. Where like they're also this group that wants to keep their power and is they're too cocky, basically, for lack of a better word. They're a lot
of hubris, I would say.
Yeah, they're not really worried. They're not really worried about the possibility that like the bad guys are right under their noses.
Right.
Because hey, we're the Jedi. We're super strong. We're corrupt. We're the most powerful conglomerate of people in the entire world. What can anybody do to us? That's not like some kind of metaphor for America or anything like that.
Right. And I think they're so blinded at that point to we're the good guys and nothing we do is not helping people because their intentions are good, right? They have good intentions to help people. I've read several articles about people talking about this exact topic. And one of the reporters mentioned, I think it was on Vox, they mentioned that what happens is that you have the Jedi, for example, where unbeknownst to them or very subconsciously to them, really just want to keep their power or think that they are beyond having someone come and try to threaten their power or threaten their status, and don't pay attention much to there is a threat, and also don't pay attention to why they got to where they got in the first place. So all of the people that they were supposed to be inspiring to be like Jedi and be better were no longer being given the help and assistance that maybe they needed or the inspiration they needed to rise above.
Yeah, I'm almost sure that if these movies had been better written or if we had gotten more stories told within this era of the universe, we would have seen stories of like Jedi who were not necessarily evil, but were using their positions to either like gain some kind of profit or do something to manipulate the circumstances to better befit their station.
Right.
I'm sure we would have seen stuff like that in an I'm sure there's expanded universe stuff. 'Cause I've never really fell into that, but I'm sure like someone's touched on the Jedi while not necessarily being evil, not being good either.
I think one of the important things they touched on in one of the articles that I read was that they become kind of do nothing thing. Yeah. Like we're fine as we are. There's nothing that we need to keep pushing. We're okay. We're status quo is okay. And then they forget that there's still slavery in the galaxy and that there's still certain things. So they go, like when they go to Tatooine in episode 1, that even Padme's like, I can't believe there's still slavery in the galaxy. And obviously that's not a direct quote, but
I mean, it might as well be.
Right? It was probably better.
Yeah, it was probably a better line. But it's crazy, like going back, like even talking about episode 1, like episode 1 came out before 9/11 and it was made before then, and like it does, so it doesn't have as much of those like really like deep political commentary, but I think you do see a lot of George Lucas's problems with capitalism and stuff like that. Like the Trade Federation in that movie is this basically a giant company that made so much money that they became a nation unto themselves. Yeah, and they have different. I don't know if you've seen the animated series, The Clone Wars. That's some of the best writing I think I've seen in Star Wars, because they touch on all of these things, like the banking clan that gets huge, and it's a lot more political commentary. And I think Dave Filoni is responsible for it. He's also responsible for The Mandalorian. Yeah. So you get that kind of good younger type writing. Yeah, you get the guy that grew up with these stories and be like, right, how do I fix this? How do I fix it, or how do I make it better? Even how do I build on what's already there and make it better? And it gives you a lot more insight into these characters that I personally grew up loving.
the characters in the prequels. And I think I suffer from Star Wars fan blinders, where you love the film so much and you don't want to see what's wrong with them.
I will say Star Wars fans are the worst. I'm going to put that out there for everyone. I love Star Wars. I really do love Star Wars. I never got into Star Trek.
I didn't either.
Yeah, and like, so I was always on the Star Wars side of this. But Star Wars fans are the absolute worst. Anytime a fandom gets so large that like the original series that whatever it follows cannot do any wrong, there is a problem.
Yeah.
And so like, really just fuck all Star Wars fans. You all are terrible and you should be ashamed of yourselves.
I mean, there is significant issues with the first three that came out also.
Yeah.
Let's not
no, for sure. I'm not even talking
try
about
to just
like
kill the prequels without talking about all of it. They all have issues. It's just you kind of, for me, the prequels, I love them so much, but I think I love the idea of what's in my head about them more than what they actually are. I think every time I watch them, I rewrite it in my head and I'm like, this could have been so much better.
And look,
this way.
And look, in your defense, which is almost the name of this show, like the stuff that you're looking for is there. I think George Lucas put it out there for people to find. The problem with it is that these are very high-minded ideas for a franchise that is for babies. Star Wars is for babies.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. You don't, he kind of threw in Anakin as a kid, which he probably shouldn't have, just because, he was looking for that target audience of a younger generation to grow up with the first three films, or not the first three films, or the prequels.
Yeah.
And what happened was that they're too political, and they were even probably too political or too real. I would even say too real. They're very on the nose of a lot of things that are happening even right now.
I want to look something up real quick, just so as an example of that, because there's a very good way to show why that first movie and movies follow were way too political. I'm gonna read up the opening crawl.
Oh, sure. I just rewatched them yesterday. So yesterday and today, really, to prepare myself to talk to you. Because I was like, wow, I haven't seen them in a while, but they are brilliant. And
so, but like the way the Phantom Menace opens up, it goes, turmoil has engulfed the Galactic Republic. The taxation of trade routes to outlying star systems is in dispute. Hoping to resolve the matter with a blockade of deadly battleships, the greedy Trade Federation has stopped all shipping to the small planet of Naboo. While the Congress of the Republic endlessly debates the alarming chain of events, the Supreme Chancellor has secretly dispatched 2 Jedi Knights, the guardian of peace and justice in the galaxy, to settle the conflict.
Hey, no taxation without representation.
But like,
man, that's heavy for a younger audience.
I was 8 when this movie came out. And if I don't remember if I saw it in the theaters, but like when I'm 8 years old, I don't have much memory of the original series, but if I had seen them at all at this point, right? And then this movie opens up with the taxation of trade routes,
and you're like, what the hell is that?
Who is this for, George?
Yes, and you're like, what is that? That was, I felt like, now that you mentioned that's his manifesto that's his political manifesto. This is what I think is going on here. And I think he made it for the George Bush administration and didn't realize it was going to be more poignant in 2020 than it was in 2002 or 2005 or 1999 when these movies came out.
But even having said that, like the Phantom Menace came out before the Bush administration was even a thing, right?
It's very foreshadowy.
But it shows how George was so reticent against like believing in large corporations and things like that. And you see it. He is very much someone who is, I don't know about anti-capitalist, but at least anti-American capitalism, where it's this idea of like profits before all else, like profits by any means necessary, which is one of the things I hate about American capitalism.
Hey.
And so it shows he's definitely like stepped. It's not just in his movies, because this is a guy who sold Star Wars literally for billions of dollars, and then gave it all away. then proceeded to like donate it all to charity. George Lucas is a beautiful person. He is one of the best people in the entire world. He has given so much of his money to charities and to good causes, and he is actually the world is better for having him in it. He is just not a very good director.
Yes, that I agree. I agree with that. I think if we kind of take that out of the equation and try to look at these three films in a different context and forget about that, if we can take out the main characters' really, really horrible dialogue. Like there's a scene where he's talking to her and he's like, I just have feelings for you. And it's so cringy. And you're like, the look on her face is like, oh God, this is someone like I feel like we've all been there, right? Or like, this is someone I'm just going to have to let him down, but I don't know how. I don't know because I want to be nice because I still like you as a person, but I don't want you to like me like that. And then she's like, 3 scenes later, she's like, but I'm in love with you. And you're like, you just wanted to kick him out of your house. What happened to that? But if you look at it for beyond the love story, beyond crazy Jar Jar Binks antics and all of the other things, it does have some brilliant storytelling that a lot of films nowadays refuse to get into subjects like that, especially in the kind of environment that we're in now. And when I say films, I think I'm mostly talking about big blockbuster films. They're very in your face fight because you know what? Star Wars fans, they don't want to be told what to think politically. They don't want to be shown what's in their face. Like, is this really what's happening in my society now? I don't care. Just pew, pew, pew the hell out of the whole movie and let me get out of here with some popcorn and another Baby Yoda toy.
And I think we've seen that most people feel that way. I don't think most people really like to be challenged or have ideas introduced to them that they don't agree with right off the bat. I've gotten into plenty of arguments with like family about like these simple things like where you just got to care for each other. Like try to accept what other people are telling you and be open to this idea that doesn't fit within your own little bubble.
I think one of the underlying themes there is very much how a democracy can get so complacent with where they are that they forget to do what they were doing at the beginning. And it opens the door for very fascist thinking and a fascist regime to take over. And I know the first 3 films are definitely his social commentary on the rise of Nazis. And episodes 1, 2, and 3 are as well, really, with some of American stuff thrown in there.
No, for sure. Another cool thing about George Lucas, very anti-fascist.
Yes. Which
I think is something that everybody should be, which is weird. But it's weird. It's weird that there are people in here that are like anti-fascism or anti-racism is a bad thing. It's like, no, you're dumb. You're stupid. You are a fascist or you are a racist if you think that anti-racism or anti-fascism is not a good idea. But George Lucas did that from the very beginning. I
think a lot of the themes there have to do with, anti-fascism for sure. But also, it's not just that the democracy gets complacent, but the people get complacent. Everything is copacetic and we don't have to do anything. And they forget. People also get very lazy and don't bother to think about who they're voting for and why they're voting. I'm just going to vote for the guy that says the things that I want. And then you end up with someone like Emperor Palpatine, that says, I think one of my favorite lines in episode 2 in the Attack of the Clones is when he says, I love democracy. And you're like, no, you don't. No, you don't. You're just using whatever this
democracy
is
when it
benefits him.
When it benefits his own personal goals.
Exactly.
And I think you're absolutely right where George Lucas is trying to cover something where like the issues with personal complacency, where as long as all the bad things happening outside don't affect me on in my home or my family or friends, then it's fine. You can do whatever you want. You can go ahead and kill people on the streets that don't deserve it. You can try to kidnap a Michigan governor. As long as you're doing that somewhere else and it's not affecting me, then I don't really care.
Right. And then I think his message is very much, well, when you get complacent, then you get an empire because you were too lazy to say this is not okay. But then when you find out that it's not okay, it's too late to do anything about it because you've already let something else happen. And I'm always
Jar Jar Binks.
Yes, we are. Hey, I would have been super happy if Jar Jar Binks was the actual mastermind behind all of it. It would have been super gratification. Like, yes, that's it. Jar Jar Binks was behind the whole thing, the entire thing.
We had a possibility where Donald Trump could have been Jar Jar Binks, but now we're the Jar Jar Binkses.
Yes,
we're
like, sure.
We're the ones that accepted a dictator instead of the ones that ushered him in.
And let's look at Jar Jar Binks for a second, because by all accounts, yes, annoying as hell, but also a very innocent character. Like, he does really represent innocence, I think, in those films. And even in the second film, he's trying to kind of step up and do something good and do what he thinks maybe Padme would do in his place, and try to be a better person and a good politician. And he lets himself literally be the one that votes Palpatine into emergency powers.
Yeah. But have you ever looked up what happens to Jar Jar Binks after the trilogy?
No. Oh no.
It's super sad. So
no,
in
Jar
one
Jar.
of it was after Disney bought it out, and they had that aftermath book where it talks about the stuff leading up to The Force Awakens. Apparently, Jar Jar Binks is now a street performer on like Coruscant or something like that, who just really wants to make children like smile to hide the fact that he is so sad underneath.
I mean, it must be a hard thing to discover that you're the one that helped.
You're the president that voted in the chancellor during a game of Secret Hitler.
I mean, yes, there's a whole scene where you might just think of Jar Jar doesn't really say anything in that scene, but you can totally tell where they completely gaslight him into doing this. Mm-hmm. And when you watch these films now in 2020, I would challenge everybody that's listening to watch them with the mind of how things are happening in this country right now and where we're headed, and really think about what the message is there, or it's sort of a cautionary tale. And they also talk about, look at Anakin Skywalker, right? He's supposed to be the chosen one, but where is it written that chosen ones aren't supposed to be evil too? And
also, I think it's a condemnation of the chosen one narrative, right? Like you cannot put the fate of billions of people on one person.
Right.
Like
exactly.
Putting too much faith in Anakin Skywalker kind of helped lead down to the downfall of the Jedi, right? Because here's this kid who shows up, and you tell him he's the chosen one. He is the most important person in the entire galaxy. He is the one that is going to bring balance to the Force and save everybody. And then when he grows up and he has to deal with this system, right? And he has all this pressure on him to be great, and then he feels what's the word we're looking for? He's basically a Karen, where he's just kind of like he feels entitled.
He is the Karen of Star Wars.
Yeah, he feels entitled to getting a position on the Jedi Council, being known as a Jedi Master. Like he's all these things that even like I think by the time the third movie happens, he's how old? Like he's in his early
20,
20s,
right?
Yeah,
I think he's 20 or 19 or 20, right? Because they say 10 years go by, so he should be 19.
Yeah, because
just angry teenager time, thinking you're an adult when you're not.
Yeah, he's basically every like childhood celebrity who went off the rails. Like they get told that they're the most special person in the world, and then things go to shit when they have to deal with that real world. Exactly.
It happens a lot, definitely with child actors, especially if they have this sort of meteoric rise to something. Look at Justin Bieber, and among others, really. And they have a complete breakdown as adults because they really can't handle the responsibility, because they've grown up with this stress of, well, you're the chosen one. You're going to save us all. That's probably a lot to put on a 9-year-old who really just wanted to get in a spaceship and fly and pew, pew, pew.
And then when that kid turns 20, And then when that kid turns 20 and he feels like he's entitled to getting a position on the Jedi Council, it's like, why don't they give that to me? Oh, you know what? They're jealous of me, and I'm gonna go out and kill. I'm gonna go save my mom. I'm gonna kill a bunch of the whole village of Tuskens. I am going to gaslight this girl into falling in love with me.
Totally.
All this nonsense.
Totally. And it's this obsessive love that he has for her, really, that drives her to where they need to go. I think it has a lot of really adult themes in it. Another one that, like we were just touching on, I think, was if you study any kind of metaphysics where the Force would come in and things like that, where really is about don't let your fear control you, because it will only lead you to other things that are not good. If you're constantly afraid of this, if you're constantly afraid of this other outcome, that's where you're going to go, because that's where your intention is. Your intention is not necessarily for that outcome to happen. That's sort of where your intention goes. And the Force is very, very, the way they talk about the Force in the movies is very on the nose of what you study in metaphysics.
It's
and
the
things
Yoda
like
quote.
that.
It's fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate leads to suffering.
Exactly. And
suffering leads to the dark side.
And suffering leads to the dark side.
I like this.
That's all it is.
I like to everybody to think that I memorized that, but I really looked it up really quickly because you were just basically saying
I have it memorized.
I don't. Oh, you have it memorized?
Yes.
Well, you said it in a very human way, so you were paraphrasing the hell out of that.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. And he says, right? He says other things right before that, and you're like, damn, I know you're right.
Yoda is basically Yoda's dialogue in these movies is basically the only time that he's definitely not talking like a human, but he's saying things in a way where it's just not saying what is true, what is there. Mm-hmm. Yoda speaks in epitaphs and metaphors and like,
yes,
and he talks like a living thing might actually talk. Yeah,
like a living thing from his planet, wherever that is.
He's 880 years old. He can
do what he wants.
Yeah, he can do whatever he wants.
He can say whatever he wants. He's learned enough about how things go.
He's voiced by Miss Piggy. It's all good.
Oh gosh, now I can't. Now I can't unsee it. I had a voice coach once that would tell me that in order to get into my upper range while singing, I had to think about sounding like Miss Piggy. And it was like, for a while, I couldn't get that out of my head. And it was so hard because I'm like, I don't want to sound like Miss Piggy. Like, I can do Mickey Mouse much better than I can do Miss Piggy.
So let's talk about like Palpatine. So Palpatine is the one who's like very much the force of evil, or as I like to call him,
let's talk about
Palpatine, the main character of all three trilogies, apparently.
Yes, apparently. We didn't know, but now you know.
So he basically gets into power by like playing both sides. Mm-hmm. He's the
ultimate conspiracy theory.
Yeah, he's the one backing the Trade Federation, telling them what to do, and he's hoping that by like making the Trade Federation more powerful, he can trick like the Senate and other like political leaders to give him more power. Basically,
right?
He's just constantly making things worse for everybody, just so that
he can benefit.
Yeah, he can take over.
Yes. And I think now that we've started on this subject, I think that is George Lucas's nod to all the conspiracy theories that go on, that you see on the internet and things like that. It's very much, well, that one guy's playing both sides. It doesn't matter which side you're on, really. They're both either not right or not wrong, depending on how you want to look at it. Yeah.
It's one of those ideas where like it's definitely like this person is... This person is just trying to incite fear and anger out of folks, right? This person is taking advantage of that, and like
fabricated a war.
Yeah, for example, in the context of like the George, in the context of like the George Bush era, he's it's basically like we want to do this thing, but we can't convince people to just let us do that. We want to attack Iraq. They got the oil. They got the oil, right? But Iraq doesn't really have anything to do with what this attack that happened on 9/11. So how do we do that? Let's manipulate. We'll manipulate the details. We'll tell folks that the Nemoidians are sending spies into society, and that we need to we need to build this army and do like a preemptive strike against them before they actually do attack us.
And what's a really, really scary way of telling people that? Let's just say weapons of mass destruction. That sounds scary as hell. Let's say that all the time and repeat it on the media all the time. And they'll be like, yes, absolutely, go to war. What are we doing? Like,
that sounds scary. You got to stop it.
Yeah. And it's also, like you said, the episode 1 was before 9/11, and all of the conspiracy theories that came after that, where it was a fabricated event in order to lead to a war. And ain't that Star Wars episodes 1, 2, and 3?
Well, I'll say, like, anything that came out of the Phantom Menace is probably an accident. Like, I do believe like the anti-capitalist stuff is there. I don't know how inclined people were against because it's funny, like, people describe 1999 as, like, in the Matrix is described as the peak of human civilization. And the more I think about it, the more, yeah, it probably was.
Probably was.
We had the Matrix. We had all these great things happening then, and then once the new millennium hits, it's all fucked. It's all gone.
Pretty much. Pretty much. It was,
and that's why like Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith become like so much darker.
Yes. It's also like the Harry Potter films, where my mom asked me the other day why she likes the first 2 films but doesn't want anything to do with the other ones. And then she said, oh, just because they get so dark after that. And I'm like, well, isn't that life? Everything is hunky-dory until it's not. Until things start happening and it gets dark. And then it gets dark.
They're all teenagers now. The world is literally against them.
Exactly. And all of these YA novels that are literally all these teenagers against the world. That's a lot of stress to put on teenagers, honestly.
Yeah, there was a meme that I had posted up a while back about how, like, all these YA books, Harry Potter, Marvel movies, all this stuff that tells kids that the world is out to get you and that you need to fight back against it. And then 2020 comes and everyone's mad that we're fighting back against it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, but we've been hammered into thinking that we needed to fight back against it since we were little, and now you don't want us to fight. What's happening? Because look at all of the.
They weren't the ones doing the hammering.
Now.
Yeah, like everybody
exactly.
Else, the ones doing the hammering, the ones that were like, the ones that told us to go to school and not do that stuff, are the ones that wanted us to have like these out of date history books.
Oh yeah. And
blocked websites and stuff like that with people that don't want us to really spread our values. Like, no, stay in this small town.
Yep.
Know the same 25 people for your whole life.
Absolutely.
And believe that whatever opinion you develop out of that dictates how everybody should live across the entire world.
And we're sold different American dreams depending on where we are, right? And I think it's a different version for everyone. If you look at these films as almost prophetic, I feel like when they came out, maybe the last one in 2005, it was more of a cautionary tale. Like, this is where we could be headed, or this is an extreme of what could happen. It's not what's happening now, but this is an extreme of what could happen. And fast forward and you watch them in 2020. And I was watching them yesterday and I was like, crap. It's where we are. It's not even where we could be. It's where we are.
I just really want to see I don't want to see it, but like Donald Trump come out. He's all scarred from getting over COVID-19. He's got all these steroids pumping him up that made his face all even more worse than he did before. He comes out in a big dark black robe just to hide his scars, and he comes out. I believe that we should begin a first American empire.
That's right, officially, and I just want him to say, I love democracy.
Oh, Mitch McConnell is Jar Jar.
Oh, no, poor Jar Jar. Don't do that. He's more like Jabba the Hutt. Honestly, he's like a gangster that has too much power. Don't do that to Jar Jar. I actually kind of like Jar Jar. I feel bad for him that everybody gives him all the grief that he gets. I believe in the theory that he is the ultimate Sith Lord. And nobody knows.
I mean, like, we know why Jar Jar is there. Like, he's
the comic relief.
He's the comic relief. He was what C-3PO was in the original movies.
He was, except with a really funny accent.
Yeah, I mean, that accent is terrible. Like, if it could have been anything else. And there are some moments that they cover through Jar Jar there's a really strong political discourse happening in that first movie.
Yes.
When they go down to the water world, the underground underwater city, and like they're talking to Boz Nass. If it wasn't for the horrific dialogue, if it wasn't for the actual words that were being spoken, if it wasn't for the way that they had Jar Jar and his people speak, it might actually be like super interesting. Like it's the Jedi telling, like when they have to convince them to fight for Naboo, it's the Jedi telling them exactly what we're saying. It's telling us like, look, whatever happens to those people happens to you.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
You have to act in a way that will benefit as many people as possible, or else you're going to come down eventually also.
Yes, that was very much their way of saying you all live on the same planet. So you either care or you're just going to die. And that's pretty much where we are with climate change, right? We're trying to tell people.
I believe that's where we are with everything. Like when it for taxes, for government care, for Medicare, for Medicaid, all this kind of stuff. Like decisions that benefit the most amount of people possible are things that bring up everyone. Like the rising tide brings up all ships. You had like
right. It's a great quote. I like that.
George Lucas is like, he's a super genius, super great guy. I wish he knew how the humans spoke.
Yes. I wish he learned how to human speak more than Yoda speak. It's like if they were all Yodas, you would have probably bought some of that dialogue.
But whatever now. Like he's got more money than God. He can live the rest of his life without ever interacting with another human ever again. And I do believe that he really does love this franchise. I think George Lucas definitely worked really hard. And it's even possible that, like, I remember before Disney bought the franchise, they were coming out with the 3D movies. I think only the Phantom Menace had come out so far by the time Disney bought it, but it failed. It was like it's like the first time a Star Wars movie ever came out of theaters and didn't hit number one.
Well, it was already an old movie that people could watch at home, so there was that.
Yeah, but it was Star Wars, right? So
yes.
I'm sure we broke his heart. Society broke George Lucas's heart.
We broke George Lucas.
He would have held on to Star Wars as long as he could, but then Disney shows up and they need a franchise to sell to boys. So
Star Wars fandom killed George Lucas. And I think he was doing really good by putting a female character there that in Phantom Menace was willing to kind of do what she needed to save her people. And even in the second film where she was like, I'm going to vote no matter what, even though it was more political than her picking up a gun, which we did get that at the end. But in the third film, it was like, did you forget you had a heroine? Or what about all the little girls watching? Is this what you're telling us, to go home and get pregnant and then forget that we have brains? That's how I felt about the third film in terms of Padme's character. She was my favorite character.
When talking the politics of Star Wars, things really do fall apart when you talk about the most obvious things like sexism, racism, slavery. Like these movies, slavery is still an issue all the way going to Return of the Jedi.
It's a thing that they can't seem to figure out in the movies, and not that they can't seem to figure out, but I think that's probably part of his social commentary, is that there is types of slavery still out in the world. And even though we think we've evolved past this, or we beat the empire or whatever it is, there's still craziness going on.
Oh, and I forgot there's slavery in The Last Jedi also.
Yeah. The Republic was a very complacent democracy, and they forgot that there was still things that maybe they needed to fix in their republic, and didn't, like all the lower levels of that city that needed some cleaning up or something. It was no longer a focus of the Republic Senate. And that's where he talks about, once you're a complacent government, the people start saying the government isn't doing anything to fix these situations or to help us fix these situations. And that's where, again, you make room for all of these fascist type of people like Emperor Palpatine, and at some point Anakin Skywalker, to get up there. I mean, being a whiny teenager in episode 2, and then in episode 3, he's just a whiny 20-year-old.
Yeah, and what does Palpatine do? He uses
that.
He uses that, right? He does what the politicians do today. What they do in the real world. He says things that he doesn't even necessarily believe in.
Right.
But he uses that because he knows that this is a powerful person that's good to have on his side. Mm-hmm. And so he tells them, no, you are the chosen one. You are the most important person in the world. You're right that these people are not giving you what you want, and they never will. Side with me, and I'll give you what you want. I will do everything in my power to make sure that, you know, you're the love of your life, that you get the girl, that you become that everyone knows your name. Right now, just go out and kill some kids.
Yeah, that was like, I felt like that was too much at one point, because that evilness was probably always there, but you don't go from like from being angry and like killing sand people to like, I'm just going to kill these poor defenseless children that haven't done anything to me. I thought that was a little over the top. And I know he probably added that in there for dramatic effect, but it's one of those very cringy scenes where you're like, just no.
At least they didn't show it.
Yeah, that would have been way, I think that would have taken it to an R rating. But I think if we watch them now, like I've been saying, is if we watch it with different eyes and look for sort of this social commentary, maybe it can be a cautionary tale to not let things get out of hand, or not give one person too much power, or not give one
entity, one group of people.
Yes, too much power, too much say over what the people can and can't do.
And the fact that like these things were written into the script 20 years ago, and they still apply today, like, and these are techniques that have existed for thousands of years. This is things that it's super easy to manipulate someone like this in a way where like it's been a problem forever, where there's like this toxic masculinity, and there are these issues that people have where like everyone feels like they're the main character of their own story, and then when you actually tell them that, it's easy to get in their heads and get them to do what you want them to do. Sure, that's what Palpatine does. Anakin, like I keep comparing the audience of these movies to the characters in them. Like, we are Anakin, we are Jar Jar, we are Palpatine. Like, why can't we be Obi-Wan? Why can't we be the guy that just kind of like does his thing and exists?
Because we're okay with being gaslighted by everybody. It's listening to everybody's opinion and saying, okay, so you don't think that I'm good at this, I won't do it. Or because you see someone else, even a friend of yours, as a authority figure that they may not be, like, they might not know anything on the subject that they're talking about. Like if somebody tells you, oh, you can't be a musician, or you can't juggle because you don't know how to juggle. It's very easy for someone to tell you, oh, you can't do that. But logically, you can say, you know what, I can't do that now, but I can take some classes and figure it out if that's what I really want to do. And it's kind of being gaslighted. I'm using a very broad example, but it's just kind of the daily gaslighting that we get from everybody. And it's sort of ingrained into everyone to do it to other people without there being a consciousness of saying, okay, wow, I see what this person's doing. Yeah,
telling people, don't rock the boat. If things are fine the way they're going, there's really no reason in like changing that up or challenging the status quo.
Yeah, it's kind of like where I think maybe older generations will say, oh no, why do you think you're special? You're not. And now it's like, well, everybody's special. And let's complain about everything. And everybody gets hurt by every commentary. There has to be some kind of balance. I think that is probably one of the major points of Star Wars, is there has to be balance in all things. And I hate that they should have touched on in any of these films the gray Jedi, which are technically balanced. Because they use both light and dark.
That's when we'll see. And I think we could finish off with that, talking about like going to the political stuff, and then like there's the philosophical politics that the morality of this world that seems to exist in these movies, and it gets touched on in the sequels, the new
in the sequels,
in the sequel trilogy, the sequel trilogy, like when in The Last Jedi, when Luke Skywalker is talking about how when he acknowledges that the Jedi were corrupt, that they were too full of themselves, and then he covets like those ancient Jedi texts, and then Yoda has to tell him they're just books, dude.
Yeah, just let it go. It's sort of, that's a very Buddhist philosophy of let it go and it will make itself right, or whatever right needs to happen will happen.
Yeah, Yoda's like trying to tell me you need to be open to change. Mm-hmm. Like if Rey, I think Yoda's aware that both Rey and probably Kylo are this next generation of Force users that are going to pave the way for the new world. You need to let them. Right.
And they are the balance, right? Light and dark.
Yeah, you're only and again, like it can't really be light and dark. Like the way I've always gone about it when it came to the morality of the light side and the dark side is that neither one is good or evil. I always saw like the light side as a more like law-bearing, law-fearing, kind of like sticking to the status quo, making sure things are the way they are. And then the dark side was always like survival of the fittest, like do whatever you can to put yourself at number one, live in this society where like don't necessarily follow the laws, but give responsibility to the person who has the power to enforce it.
Yeah. And as we saw in all of the films, neither one of those extremes work. Yeah. Because in life, extremes really don't work. And it really is about finding the balance of both. And you can't just be all status quo all the time. And you can't just be all, I'm going to be out for myself and survive alone all the time.
Yeah, and we saw that. We saw in the original trilogy, Luke starts off in his pure white desert getup, and by the time he gets to the Return of the Jedi, he's wearing all black. Mm-hmm. He doesn't defeat the Emperor, defeat the Darth Vader until he gets angry, until he gives into the dark side just a little bit, and fights his way.
We could probably have a whole nother podcast on the use of colors and things like that to tell the story in Star Wars and just about any film, really.
Oh yeah, I could probably do a whole podcast. I could probably do a whole podcast about that scene in The Force Awakens where right before Kylo kills Han Solo, and spoilers everybody, right before Kylo kills Han Solo, and then he's got the light, he's got the blue on one side and the red on the other side.
Wait, Han Solo dies?
Yeah, sorry to have to bring that up for you. I think that's a good way to end it. Sophie, if people want to know what you're up to or follow you on the socials, where can they find you on the internets?
You can find me on Instagram at Solo Cinema, and you can look up my current project on Twitter, which is at the price for freedom, which is a civil rights project that will hopefully be coming out soon in streaming services.
Yeah, and I'll put a link to that stuff on the show notes. Check it out. I'm super interested in it.
It's gonna be really good. We have some really good things coming from it, and we're gonna start filming soon, hopefully. So it's gonna be an amazing, amazing project.
Whenever the plague ends.
Yes, whenever the plague ends, which is really what's put a lot of projects behind, especially in entertainment, is the plague. So whenever that ends, check it out. You can check us out on social media at The Price for Freedom. You can check out our website at thepriceforfreedom.com. And for me personally, you can check me out at Solo Cinema on Instagram.
Thank you so much, Sophie. You were a terrific guest. I'm sure we will have you on again, either to talk more Star Wars or talk whatever. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a trap on the attack. A cutthroat captain, the crew got his back. Let the flag hang black. Let the flag hang black. It's a trap, grab a ship like it's just for fun. Tell me, Cap, how quick you make the castle run? I'm a pirate, I love to do dirt. There's no question, I always shoot first. The first to blast back, that's the first to get the jettison.
And that's the episode, folks. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks so much to Sophie for coming on the show. Can't wait to have her back. If you like the episode and if you like the show in general, feel free to leave us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, whatever might be taking, or whatever podcatcher of your choice that might accept reviews of some kind. Helps spread the word around, let other people find the podcast. Like I said, folks, there is eventually going to be be an episode for everybody. I promise. That is my number one goal, is that there's going to be at least one episode of this show at some point that someone will enjoy listening to. For everybody. That's what I mean. For everybody. I don't mean like there's only ever going to be one good episode, but there is eventually going to be one subject covered that applies to every single person's favorite thing. I want to know what your favorite thing is. If you guys want to share what your favorite thing is, if you want to suggest an idea for an episode, if you want to suggest what we talk about and, you know, have me do the research on it and do a whole podcast about it, I will do so. Just reach out to me on inmydefensepodcast.com under contacts, where you can find inmydefensepodcast@gmail.com. That's a good place to reach out. You can also reach out to me directly. I am Chris Rivero on both Twitter and Instagram. And you know what I just realized right now, folks? It is probably a super awkward situation that if you know someone personally who has their own show, their own platform they want to talk to that you're not really involved with, and you want to be involved with it, it is probably super difficult to like work up that courage and kind of just ask them, hey, can I be a guest on your thing? That is totally understandable. Something that not everybody wants to do. It's kind of an awkward situation. So that's why on inmydefensepodcast.com, there's a handy dandy form for people to fill out. Something that you can just do. It'll take you 1 minute total, depending on what you want to talk about, where I just ask for some contact information so I can get back in touch with you, your name, what you want to talk about, and why you want to talk about it so badly. You can make it just a few sentences. You can write a whole essay for all I care. Just let me know what you want to talk about, and if I think it can make a good episode, and I kind of think that there's almost nothing that you really can't talk about on a podcast, folks, just bring it. Try me out. If you find that you're super knowledgeable about the mating habits of an American worker ant, I want to hear about it. Let's do a podcast on that. Most definitely, guys. I wish that was at least somewhat not true. Well, at this moment, I can't think of anything else to talk about, so let's go out on the rest of It's a Trap by Dr. Awkward, and I will see you next week with another geek on the In My Defense podcast.
Money on my mind. Not a Jedi, never had a master. Only force that I need is a blaster. Blast past the trash, I'm the prize of the sector. Ransack the crew like the virus and vector. Independent, I answer to myself. Only in it for the women and the wealth. Free of the system, we lurk in the black. Now you're caught before you realize where you're at. Screaming, it's a trap.